What if I told you that the most powerful voice influencing your life isn't the one coming from your parents, your teachers, or even your critics? It's the one inside your own head. That voice, the one that whispers doubt, fuels insecurity, and reminds you of every mistake you've ever made, has been shaping your confidence, your choices, and your future. And the scariest part? Most of us don't even realize it's happening. Think about it. How many times have you told yourself, I'm not good enough, I'll never get it right, or what's the point in even trying? We speak words to ourselves that we would never dare say to a friend, yet we accept them as truth when they come from our own mind. But here's what I need you to know. That voice is lying to you. You were never meant to be your own worst enemy. And today we're going to break that cycle. Today we're going to learn how to silence the negativity, rewrite the story, and step into the power of a voice that lifts you up instead of tearing you down. Are you ready? Let's begin. The first step in overcoming negative self-talk is awareness. Awareness is the key that unlocks the door to change. If you are unaware of the negative thoughts running through your mind, they control you without you even realizing it. The very nature of negative self-talk is that it sneaks into your thoughts so quietly and subtly that it becomes your default internal dialogue. For many people, this happens without conscious recognition. It's easy to ignore or dismiss these thoughts as just part of everyday thinking. But the impact they have on your self-esteem, confidence, and overall mental health is profound. To begin addressing this issue, you must first become aware of the patterns in your thinking. Take a step back and observe the language you use when you talk to yourself. Are you kind and compassionate, or are you critical and dismissive? Often, we can be our own harshest critics, but we rarely notice how frequently we put ourselves down. Thoughts like, I'm not good enough, I'll never succeed, or I can't do this may come up throughout your day, often triggered by situations like making a mistake, facing a challenge, or even just dealing with normal life stress. These thoughts form a constant narrative that shapes your perception of yourself, influencing how you approach tasks, relationships, and even your own potential. In many cases, this negative self-talk is automatic. You don't have to consciously choose to think these things. They simply arise from a deep-rooted belief system that you have internalized over time. These beliefs may stem from childhood experiences, past failures, societal pressures, or even well-meaning but misguided comments from others. Over time, these beliefs become so ingrained that they feel like undeniable truths, even though they are often untrue or exaggerated. The first step toward healing and changing this pattern is noticing when it happens. Start paying attention to your internal monologue. Every time you experience a negative thought about yourself, take a moment to acknowledge it. Don't try to push it away or deny it. Recognize that it's there and give yourself permission to feel the emotion that comes with it. If you find yourself saying, I'm terrible at this, or I always fail, stop and ask yourself, is this true? Are you really terrible, or is this a thought you've accepted as fact? Is it possible that you're simply learning and growing, and mistakes are part of that process? Awareness also means identifying the triggers that lead to these negative thoughts. What situations cause you to spiral into self-criticism? Is it when you make a mistake at work, when someone criticizes you, or when you compare yourself to others? Understanding these triggers gives you insight into why these thoughts arise, and it allows you to take more control over them. It's essential to be gentle with yourself during this process. The goal isn't to get angry at yourself for having negative thoughts. It's simply to notice them without judgment and to recognize that you have the power to change them. Once you are aware of the patterns in your thinking, you create an opportunity to interrupt them. Awareness is the first step to shifting your mindset. By simply noticing when negative self-talk arises, you are taking back control. The more you practice this, the easier it becomes to recognize and challenge the negative voices in your head. And as you continue on this journey, you'll find that the negative self-talk becomes less frequent, less intense, and ultimately less influential in your life. Reframing the narrative is one of the most powerful tools you can use to shift negative self-talk. The way you talk to yourself shapes the way you see the world and your place in it. If your internal dialogue is filled with criticism, doubt, and harsh judgments, it can create a lens through which you view every aspect of your life. Reframing involves intentionally changing the way you respond to negative thoughts by replacing them with more balanced, compassionate, and empowering perspectives. This isn't about pretending everything is perfect or ignoring your challenges. It's about choosing to see yourself and your situation through a more realistic, supportive lens. When you constantly tell yourself that you're not good enough, that you're a failure, or that you will never succeed, you're reinforcing a fixed, limiting view of yourself. This type of self-talk tends to create a vicious cycle where every mistake, misstep, or difficulty becomes evidence of your inadequacy. But the truth is, everyone faces challenges, and everyone makes mistakes. It's part of being human. What defines us is not the failure itself, but how we respond to it. When you reframe the narrative, you begin to see mistakes not as proof of your worthlessness, but as part of your growth and learning. For example, instead of thinking, "I always mess up," you might try, "I made a mistake, but that doesn't define me. I can learn from this and do better next time." Instead of thinking, "I'll never succeed," reframe it to, "Success is a journey, and I'm taking steps every day to move closer to my goals." This shift in language might seem simple, but it's profound. It moves you from a mindset of failure and limitation to one of possibility and growth. It empowers you to see challenges as opportunities for learning and personal development rather than as evidence of your inadequacy. Reframing also helps you recognize and challenge distorted thinking patterns. Often, negative self-talk is not based on facts, but on exaggerated and inaccurate perceptions. You might find yourself thinking in all or nothing terms, like "I'm terrible at everything," or "nothing ever goes right for me." These black and white statements don't reflect the full picture of who you are or what you're capable of. Life is complex, and most of your experiences don't fit neatly into categories of good or bad. Reframing allows you to break out of this limiting way of thinking by recognizing that things aren't always as bad as they seem in the moment. For example, instead of saying, "I can't do this," try, "I may not know how to do this yet, but I'm capable of learning." This slight shift in wording opens up new possibilities and helps you break free from the constraints of negativity. Another powerful aspect of reframing is that it encourages you to treat yourself with the same kindness and understanding that you would offer to a friend. Imagine if a friend came to you feeling down and saying, "I'm not good enough to achieve my dreams." Would you respond by agreeing with them? Or would you offer them compassion, encouragement, and a reminder of their strengths and potential? When you reframe your internal dialogue, you begin to treat yourself with the same care, recognizing that everyone has setbacks and no one is defined by their mistakes. Instead of focusing on your perceived weaknesses, reframing helps you focus on your strengths, progress, and potential. This shift in perspective takes practice, but the more you consciously choose to reframe your thoughts, the more natural it becomes. Over time, reframing can change the way you see yourself and the world around you. It allows you to create a narrative of hope, resilience, and growth instead of one of limitation and defeat. By consistently practicing this skill, you will begin to see yourself not as someone who is defined by their failures, but as someone who is capable of learning, evolving, and ultimately succeeding. Speaking life into yourself is a transformational practice that shifts the way you see yourself, your potential, and your future. Your words hold immense power. They are not just sounds or letters strung together. They shape your beliefs, influence your emotions, and determine your action. When negative self-talk dominates your mind, it plants seeds of doubt, fear, and limitation. But when you intentionally choose to speak words of encouragement, confidence, and possibility, you begin to cultivate a mindset of strength, growth, and self-love. This is not about ignoring reality or pretending that challenges don't exist. It is about choosing words that build you up instead of tear you down. Most people are not even aware of how often they speak negativity into their own lives. Simple statements like, I can't do this, I'm not smart enough, or I'll never be successful may seem insignificant in the moment, but when repeated over time, they become embedded into the subconscious mind. The brain begins to accept these statements as truth, shaping the way you see yourself and what you believe you are capable of achieving. This is why it is crucial to become intentional about the words you use, both in your thoughts and in the way you speak out loud about yourself. One of the most effective ways to counter negative self-talk is through affirmations. Affirmations are positive statements that reinforce empowering beliefs. When spoken regularly, they begin to replace old limiting thoughts with new supportive ones. For example, instead of saying, I'm not good enough, you can say, I am capable and worthy of success. Instead of saying, I always mess things up, you can say, I learn and grow from every experience. At first, these affirmations might feel unnatural, especially if you have spent years believing the opposite. However, just like negative self-talk is learned and reinforced through repetition, positive affirmations work the same way. The more you say them, the more they begin to feel true. Speaking life into yourself also requires shifting your inner dialogue from self-criticism to self-compassion. Many people hold themselves to impossibly high standards and berate themselves for every mistake, flaw, or setback. They speak to themselves in ways they would never speak to a friend or loved one. Imagine if someone close to you was struggling and said, I feel like a failure. Would you agree with them, or would you remind them of their strengths, their progress, and their ability to overcome challenges? That same kindness and encouragement need to be extended to yourself. Instead of focusing on what you did wrong, remind yourself of what you are learning. Instead of dwelling on your weaknesses, acknowledge your strengths. This shift in self-talk creates a foundation of self-support that allows you to move forward with confidence and resilience. Another key aspect of speaking life into yourself is gratitude. When you focus on what you appreciate about yourself and your journey, it shifts your energy away from negativity. Instead of fixating on what you lack, you begin to recognize what you already have. Gratitude reinforces a sense of abundance and possibility, making it easier to see yourself in a positive light. A simple practice is to speak out loud 3 things you are proud of yourself for every day. This could be something as small as getting out of bed when you didn't feel like it, or as big as achieving a major goal. The more you acknowledge your progress, the more you build self-trust and confidence. Speaking life into yourself is not just about what you say, but how you say it. Your tone, energy, and conviction matter. When you affirm yourself, say it with belief, even if you don't fully feel it yet. Stand in front of a mirror, look yourself in the eyes, and declare words of power over your life. Over time, those words will become your reality, and you will step into the greatness that has always been within you. The people you surround yourself with have a profound influence on your mindset, including the way you talk to yourself. If you are constantly exposed to negativity, criticism, or doubt from those around you, it becomes much harder to silence the negative voice inside your head. Your environment plays a crucial role in shaping your thoughts, beliefs, and self-perception. Just as you would be mindful of the food you put into your body, you must be equally mindful of the energy, words, and attitudes you allow into your space. The wrong influences can reinforce self-doubt and negative self-talk, while the right ones can uplift, encourage, and push you toward growth. Many people unknowingly absorb negativity from their surroundings. This could be from family members who project their fears and limitations onto you, friends who focus on complaints and problems rather than solutions, or even workplace environments that breed stress and insecurity. When you are constantly around people who doubt themselves, criticize others, or reinforce limiting beliefs, it becomes easier to adopt those same thought patterns. You might hear phrases like, "That's too hard," "People like us don't succeed," or "Why even try?" Over time, these external voices start to blend with your inner voice, making it difficult to separate what you truly believe from what you have absorbed from others. To break free from this cycle, you must intentionally evaluate your environment. Pay attention to how you feel after interacting with different people. Do you feel drained, discouraged, and full of doubt? Or do you feel inspired, confident, and motivated? The people who bring out your best self are the ones who remind you of your strengths, encourage your dreams, and hold you accountable in a way that builds you up rather than tears you down. These are the people you need to keep close. This doesn't mean you have to cut everyone out of your life, but it does mean setting boundaries with those who consistently feed your negative self-talk. If you notice that certain relationships are rooted in negativity, limit your exposure to them when possible. If you have a friend who constantly complains and never supports your growth, shift your focus to relationships that are more uplifting. If a family member always criticizes you, learn to filter their words and recognize that their perspective is a reflection of their own experiences, not a reflection of your worth. Boundaries are not about shutting people out. They are about protecting your peace and prioritizing your mental well-being. Beyond reducing negative influences, actively seek out positive ones. Surround yourself with people who challenge you to grow, who celebrate your wins, and who speak life into you when you forget your own strength. Join communities, mentorship programs, or even online spaces where the conversation is centered around growth, empowerment, and resilience. Read books, listen to podcasts, and consume content that reinforces a positive and productive mindset. The more you expose yourself to empowering messages, the more they will start to replace the limiting beliefs that negative self-talk has created. Your environment extends beyond people. It includes the music you listen to, the shows you watch, and the conversations you engage in. If you constantly absorb negativity from social media, gossip, or fear-based news, it can subtly reinforce self-doubt and anxiety. Choose to consume content that uplifts, educates, and expands your sense of possibility. When you are surrounded by messages that reinforce strength, confidence, and success, it becomes easier to internalize those qualities. Changing your environment does not happen overnight, but small, intentional shifts can make a significant impact. The more you align yourself with people and influences that reflect the mindset you want to cultivate, the easier it becomes to rewire your thoughts. You don't have to do it alone, and you don't have to stay in spaces that diminish your confidence. By consciously choosing your inner circle, you take back control over the narrative in your mind and create an environment that supports your growth. Negative self-talk is often built on old fears and false beliefs that have been repeated so many times that they feel like the absolute truth. These thoughts come from past experiences, societal expectations, or even the opinions of others. But just because they exist in your mind does not mean they are real. Many of the things you tell yourself in moments of doubt are not grounded in fact. They are based on assumptions, insecurities, or outdated beliefs that no longer serve you. The only way to break free from their hold is to challenge them head on and question their validity. Most negative self-talk operates on autopilot. The thoughts appear, and instead of questioning them, you accept them as truth. If your mind says, "I'm not smart enough," You assume it must be true because the thought has been there for so long. If you believe, I always fail, you unconsciously look for evidence to support that belief, ignoring all the times you have succeeded. This cycle creates a self-fulfilling prophecy, where the more you believe something negative about yourself, the more you behave in ways that reinforce it. To break this cycle, you must learn to pause and ask yourself a simple but powerful question. Is this really true? The moment you begin questioning your negative self-talk, you weaken its power over you. Instead of accepting a thought like, I'll never be successful, challenge it by asking, what proof do I have that this is true? Have I really never succeeded at anything? Are there examples of times I have accomplished something? More often than not, you will realize that the thought is based on fear rather than reality. You have likely succeeded in many areas of your life, but negative self-talk tends to magnify failures while minimizing achievements. By bringing awareness to this pattern, you can start shifting your focus toward the full picture rather than the distorted version created by doubt. Another way to challenge negative self-talk is by reframing the language you use. Instead of saying, I always fail, rephrase it to, I have faced setbacks, but I have also learned valuable lessons. Instead of thinking, I'm not good enough, replace it with, I am still growing and I improve every day. The words you use matter because your brain believes what you tell it most often. When you challenge negative thoughts and replace them with more balanced, empowering ones, you create a new internal dialogue that supports your growth rather than holds you back. It is also helpful to step outside of your own perspective and imagine how you would respond if a loved one had the same thought. If a friend came to you and said, I'm a failure, would you agree with them? Or would you remind them of their strengths, their resilience, and their ability to keep going? Often we hold ourselves to much harsher standards than we do others. By applying the same compassion and logic to your own thoughts that you would offer a friend, you can begin dismantling the false beliefs that fuel negative self-talk. Sometimes negative self-talk is rooted in deep-seated fears and past experiences that feel difficult to let go of. In these cases, writing down your thoughts can be a powerful way to examine them objectively. When you see them on paper, they become separate from you, and you can analyze them more clearly. Ask yourself, where did this belief come from? Is it still relevant today? What would happen if I chose to believe something different? The more you engage in this process, the easier it becomes to separate irrational fears from reality. Overcoming negative self-talk is not about forcing yourself to be overly positive all the time. It's about developing the habit of questioning your doubts instead of blindly believing them. Each time you challenge a limiting belief, you reclaim a little more power over your thoughts. Over time, this practice reshapes the way you see yourself, replacing fear and self-doubt with confidence and self-trust. Practicing self-compassion is one of the most powerful ways to silence negative self-talk and build a healthier, more supportive relationship with yourself. Many people believe that being self-critical will make them work harder, push themselves further, or avoid failure. However, the opposite is true. Constant self-judgment creates fear, stress, and self-doubt, making it harder to take risks, recover from setbacks, and grow. Self-compassion, on the other hand, allows you to acknowledge your struggles without letting them define you. It helps you treat yourself with the same kindness and understanding that you would offer a friend, rather than being your own worst critic. One of the biggest challenges with negative self-talk is that it often comes from unrealistic expectations. You may hold yourself to impossibly high standards, expecting perfection in everything you do. The moment you make a mistake, fall short of a goal, or face rejection, that inner voice starts whispering or even shouting criticisms like, "You're not good enough," "You should have done better," or "You'll never succeed." But mistakes and failures are not proof of inadequacy. They are proof of effort, learning, and growth. Self-compassion allows you to recognize that imperfection is part of being human and that your worth is not defined by a single moment or experience. Think about how you respond when someone you care about is struggling. If a friend came to you feeling disappointed in themselves, would you tell them they are a failure? Would you say they aren't good enough? Of course not. You would offer them comfort, encouragement, and a reminder that one setback doesn't define them. Yet when it comes to ourselves, we rarely extend that same level of grace. Self-compassion means learning to speak to yourself the way you would speak to someone you love. Instead of tearing yourself down, you replace criticism with understanding, blame with patience, and shame with encouragement. A practical way to develop self-compassion is through mindful awareness. Pay attention to how you speak to yourself in difficult moments. When negative thoughts arise, pause and ask yourself, would I say this to a friend? If the answer is no, reframe it into something more compassionate. For example, instead of saying, I'm such a failure, say, I'm feeling disappointed right now, but I'm doing my best and I can learn from this. This shift in language creates space for self-kindness, allowing you to move forward with confidence instead of getting stuck in self-criticism. Another key aspect of self-compassion is recognizing that you are not alone in your struggles. When facing difficulties, it's easy to feel like you are the only one making mistakes or falling short. But the truth is, everyone experiences setbacks, doubts, and insecurities. Understanding that struggle is a shared human experience helps to remove the isolation that often accompanies negative self-talk. Instead of thinking, why am I like this? Remind yourself, everyone has hard days. I'm not alone and I can get through this. Self-compassion is not about making excuses or avoiding responsibility. It's about acknowledging your imperfections without letting them define you. It allows you to accept yourself as you are while continuing to grow into the person you want to be. The more you practice it, the more natural it becomes. Over time, self-compassion transforms the way you relate to yourself, replacing harsh self-judgment with a deep, unshakable sense of self-worth. The way you speak to yourself matters. Every word, every thought, every belief you hold about yourself is shaping your reality. Negative self-talk isn't just harmless background noise. It's a force that can hold you back, steal your confidence, and keep you stuck in cycles of doubt and fear. But here's the truth. You are not powerless against it. You have the ability to rewrite the story, to challenge the lies, and to step into a mindset that serves you rather than limits you. It starts with reframing your thoughts, replacing self-criticism with self-compassion, and surrounding yourself with people and messages that uplift you. It takes practice, but every time you choose to speak life instead of negativity, you take back your power. Every time you challenge a limiting belief, you break another chain that was never meant to hold you. So the next time that inner voice tells you that you're not enough, that you can't, that you won't, pause. Ask yourself, is this really true? And then choose to speak to yourself with the same love, grace, and encouragement that you would give to someone you care about. Because you deserve that. You always have. And today, you take the first step in making sure you never forget it.